It's I have never seen such a fuck you in a movie in a long time.
It's, I mean, it's funny because basically the whole point of watching Evangelion is to watch the movie. It's like, well, I've heard all of these things about this insane movie. I need to see the movie, but I want context. And it's to the point where I was, after I watched it for the first time, I was talking to Celine, and she was like, "Oh, I have to watch it now." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. Hold the phone. You can't just watch the movie.
No,
It won't
that's
make
like watching Firewalk with me, and then all right, cool. I understand Twin Peaks.
it won't make any fucking sense." And additionally, I don't like, because then she said that she wanted to watch Death and Rebirth and then the movie, and I said, "Well, I mean, I don't even think the movie entirely works without having actually seen episodes 25 and 26."
Yeah, it's the to be very honest with you, like she could do that. Like that's the entire like, but that's like it. I don't know. It's hard. It won't feel the same way. Like you won't
No,
under like the feelings won't be the same.
and it's equal parts too, because and we'll get into it, but 2/3 of the movie are bad, and I don't like
Uh
watching them.
there is one or two bright spots in that movie, and the rest of it is complete and utter garbage.
But literally, there's like a solid 25-minute sequence that is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. But
I could have a guess of what that scene
of
is.
course, you know what that scene is. But I don't like literally. I feel like you either have to watch all of Evangelion or you can literally just watch that 25-minute sequence. Because honestly, even with context, it's not gonna make a ton more sense.
It I have had to literally have multiple conversations with people in order to make sure like there is no definite answer for any of the things in the movie. It is very much subject to like how deep you go into stuff and
Kind
just
of.
like it's sort of and then you have to go into interviews with the creators. You have to read like the actual comic book. You have to like redo some stuff and it sort of is still just like it is a perfect encapsulation of what I feel about the series.
Though it's hilarious too because literally most of the movie is them telling you exactly what's going on. It's just what's going on doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So instead of two episodes of just like weird
Surrealist nonsense.
existential
Yeah.
weird animation and like things happening and it's just like a lot of stuff you have to pay attention to, they did that, but it's still not fun. Like I that is I even though I hate I'm okay with the ending of Evangelion now. At the time, I was like, "Oh, this is not great." But like after seeing the movie, I wish the movie didn't exist in certain places.
Kind of. Let's go ahead. Hello everyone. Welcome to TV Book Club. Uh well, I guess we're almost. It's not the end. We are covering the end of Evangelion. It's technically not the end because we still have 4 movies left. But
It's the end of the original cut.
it's the end. Yeah, it's the end of the original version. And holy shit, getting here was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Um,
At first, you were so excited and you hated Slice of Life, and then now at the end, you become this. This is who you are now.
yeah, I it did technically it did happen. I like Misato a whole lot now, so that did happen.
Yeah.
She's like the only character I
Well,
actually like.
yeah.
Except I guess
That's
a couple of those scientists that finally get personalities and wants and desires in the movie.
too little, too late.
Too little, too late. Um, so yeah, so we're here to talk about the end of Evangelion, the controversial and famous, and I guess it's a widely praised movie, though I don't understand how, because I don't think anyone who didn't watch the TV show could walk into this movie and walk out and be like, that was good. I will give that a positive review.
I think it's just it very much screams to me just like film people, like people who like The Fountain and movies like that are just like
David
deeply
Lynch,
like
like
movies you
us.
could actually have a discussion about,
Yeah.
like those type of thing. Like the movie is great, like from an animation perspective, it's a beautiful fucking movie, but from like a plot and it feels to me of like imagine going into an Avengers movie and they're just like, no, there's no we'll have a little bit of action, but like it's sort of like how and
Oh, you.
honestly, like it could have been what like Endgame could have been if they'd like hampered on that everyone is gone for like a little bit longer and
Oh,
made it more about the characters dealing with these people are actually gone.
are you just telling me that did you just make the perfect analogy that the end of Evangelion, like watching the end of Evangelion without reading Evangelion is like reading Final Crisis blind?
Yes, because I've done both of those things. I read Final Crisis because I was like, ooh, new Grant Morrison. I'm gonna read this. I haven't read any other
I,
comics besides Green Lantern.
I at
Read the
least
first part. Literally, I read the first part. I was like, the fuck is this? What? Wait, wait. How is this? How I just wanted to know how did Batman die? And then it just says, oh, he got hit with a laser, but the laser flung him through time.
yeah, I at least read Final Crisis as part of Grant Morrison's Batman run, so I had some context. But like I recently went back and read like Infinity Crisis and reading this and I was like, oh, there's a lot of setup to this.
Yes,
There's a lot
it.
of setup I'm
But
only now reading. I'm in the back half of 52 and I'm like, even this is setting up Final Crisis. What the fuck?
yeah, it's and that's. I think that's a good analogy of just like
Yeah.
you can't walk into this being like, oh, I read a couple. Like I watched a couple seconds before this, and now it's sort of like you honestly see that it's complicated.
I mean, to be fair, they do explain everything that's happening.
They
Like
do,
more so than the show ever did, but almost
yeah.
like
It's
and we'll talk about it more as we talk about what happens, but it's also it's like half I feel like for people that haven't seen the show but are going to see the movie and half as a fuck you to the audience to be like we're going to tell you exactly what the fuck's going on and it's still not going to make any sense.
hey, instead of we're focused or during those two episodes, it focuses more on like the characters during like instrumentality. It kind of explains like it makes it more in depth of like Sele's vision of the future and then like Gendo's thing in the future and how they're both basically the same thing, but it's just who executes on it. Of
Yeah.
what essentially this movie is about is how humanity needs to continue.
To I mean honestly, this movie only left me with two questions. So I feel like it did answer a lot. But yeah. So before we
It
get
answers it's hold on. It's sort let me just be honest, it's Lost. It's like season
no,
the last season of Lost in
I
which people are like, the answers are all gonna be here. And then there's not all the answers are gonna be there. Like, why, Saeed? Why?
I don't know,
No
man.
answer.
I disagree. I feel like this answered a lot more than Lost did, and is way more unsatisfying a conclusion than Lost was. I found episodes 25 and 26 a more satisfying conclusion than this. However, the movie's worth it for those 25 minutes, man. Those 25 minutes are like watching the movie when we get to that part, because I noted, and literally the movie bookends it with a visual cue, which is hilarious. Um, I was like, oh, okay, Evangelion was worth it.
It's yeah. I I think it's important.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things in which I believe that it's important for the series, and I think it's the only way the series could ever end. That's the way it is.
I feel like it's just super important to the medium and to modern uh creation, like modern fiction, be it whatever, just because it's part of the movie is about the artist reacting to the fans, which is
Yeah.
so fat. Like this movie, as a movie, I don't
There
like it. It's so fascinating and interesting conceptually, and how it was made, and what it's trying to say, in addition to what Evangelion is, and
and then just the absolute like backstory of like what happened before this, of like Gynax's office being terrorized because people were unsatisfied with the ending. And this was in 1997, not like modern times where people were like on Twitter being mad about something. This is actually going to a physical location and terrorizing and sending death threats
oh my
over the
god,
ending of a movie.
I found an Easter egg in the movie too that has that doesn't really have to, that kind of has to do with that.
But it's stuff like that which all encompasses into this series, and the fact that they like have the movie series to go back anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So, and my goal is to also not. I don't want to talk about this for longer than the movie is,
That's fine.
because we could, because you
We could.
easily could. So, before we get into the actual plot, um, and we talked about this, I had originally intended to watch Death and Rebirth and then the movie. Um, I didn't, mostly because of time constraints. But then when I watched the movie, I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't go back and watch that,
No, because it doesn't add anything.
because
It
it
is
wouldn't add anything.
it's
And
a general recap. It's sort of like a one of those Dragon Ball Z episodes that you hated as a kid. It's just like, Goku's powering up. How did Goku get all the way from here to here? The entire episode is just
uh,
a recap.
you mean the reason why I hated Dragon Ball Z until I watched it as an adult and watched Kai?
Yes.
Yes. Um,
Yes. That is essentially what that movie is.
but not just that. I mean, like literally, I would have benefited myself more just rewatching 25 and 26, because I
Yeah.
did not realize what a literal direct translation it is conceptually. Because technically, the
Yeah.
plot is entirely different, and the ending changes the end of the show. But we'll get there.
But I don't
Then
think it does.
I think it. Well, I think the ending of the show is vague enough to where you can read multiple endings where the movie is not.
Yeah. Like it's
It's
very much like there is a time, like if you do like the weird Back to the Future timeline thing, like in the show, like while Shinji is having his like inner monologue and all of the weird art stuff that's going on, like you could put it on top of there are the points where he's just screaming into his eye and then just watching the horror in front of him, in which it's just like, oh no, these are happening at the exact same time.
yeah. Well, it to me, and this is not an opinion on oh god, I'm spacing on quality, but this almost reminds me of Total Recall versus the Total Recall remake, where the first one's like, we're gonna leave it up to you, and the remake's like, this is what happened.
Yeah.
There is
Even
no
though I've never seen the
subtlety.
remake. Yeah.
It's fine. So then I also was like, well, I'll go take notes, and then I didn't, and I'm kind of glad I didn't after rewatching the movie to take notes on the classified information, which is which is a bunch of quote unquote canon Evangelion. Just it's an info dump, because
Oh,
Anno
it's the
helped write
PDpedia
it.
of our day.
The what?
The PDpedia.
Yeah, well, not it's not. Yeah, kind of like the PDpedia, except you don't need that to enjoy Watchmen. But
Limited series Watchmen.
yeah, basically, in 2003 they developed Neon Genesis Evangelion 2, which is a hybrid RPG slash dating sim for the PS2, and the bonus material in the game is just an info dump that like explains more about what instrumentality and Sele or Zele or however the fuck you want to pronounce it, and like kind of goes into more everyone's motivations, but it's also not super important. And I think the answers it gives aren't aren't entirely like they're just as unsatisfying as the answers you get in the movie. Just because you like they give you more information about what instrumentality and what these plans are doesn't mean they make any more fucking sense.
There should you like it brings up of I think an issue with like especially like modern media of I shouldn't have to look up things to get context of what's going on.
Yeah. Which again is why I think that the 25 and 26 work a little bit better when they're vaguer.
Yeah.
So
But I think there's like a subset of people who just don't like they need.
they need
I think it
answers.
was like a lot. They need the answers. I think it's like I think a lot of frustration is. I think in our like modern times of just like there's a lot of frustration of I have questions about this one thing and they're not going to give it to me, and so I'm not satisfied because I want this one little thing that in retrospect doesn't matter. And I think that like that also goes along. I think it's just like it's the same thing with like Twin Peaks. Like I know people like all right, take a drink because this is a countdown to Twin Peaks. But it's the same thing that people had with like the third season, in which it's just like, what's going on here? Where is my soap opera? Also, what happened to Donna? And all of those things were taken care of in like the dossiers.
Yeah, which I was fine. Like I loved. I mean, but I also like what you're describing is like we're both also huge David Lynch fans, and David Lynch does not tell you anything. He shows
Yeah,
you stuff, but he's not going to tell you shit. You're either going to figure it out, and he wants it to be vague because he wants you to interpret things.
yeah. And so, in contrast to something like Game of Thrones, in which there is no mystery in Game of Thrones for the most part. It's just like,
There's
especially because
there's no questions
there's
they
the
don't
books are out.
answer. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
every
Lost is a good comparison too because we both love
yes.
Lost.
Yeah, but they're like shows that don't tell you everything are few and far in between.
Yeah, that's true.
Like even like Breaking Bad, like there are people had questions about stuff, and that's like Better Call Saul is answering a lot of those questions. I haven't seen like last two seasons, but it's sort
Me
of just
either.
like what?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but
And
it's yeah.
okay, so let's talk about this movie. And I took my first note after I finished it the first time, and I just wrote Jesus fucking Christ, what the flying fuck?
Yeah. Is this what you wanted?
Because
From the first 2 minutes of the movie, it's just like, hey, fuck you. This is where we're going.
I also wrote just the first half of this movie is bad,
You
beautifully
mean very
animated, but bad.
mean to so many characters that don't deserve to be mean? Like
So
it is like ruthless aggression for no reason.
yeah, as Josh, well, again, it feels like especially the first half of this movie feels like, oh, you wanted more Evangelion? Well, fuck you. This is the more that you get.
Do you want to see a young boy masturbate over an unconscious woman for no reason?
Ugh, ugh. That's literally
Why?
how the movie starts.
Why?
So, and I didn't realize, and we'll talk about this because I wrote the part of my notes in all caps because even watching it a second time, it still pisses me off so much to the point where when it happened, I rewound it. I'm like, Faith, Faith, I have to show you this clip from the Evangelion movie. And
What clip did you show her?
I'll back that up with context when it happens. It wasn't a plot point. It was a structure thing. Because this literally
Wait, what is this?
We'll circle back to this after we finish the first half. So, because the movie literally is episodes 25 and 26, but different context and different happenings. Because 25 is all about that was the beginning of like the case for Shinji Ikari, and it's still very surreal, but it's the more literal part. It's where like the most in context world stuff that you get is like the flashes showing everyone dead.
Yeah, it sort of gives context of like, oh, why was Misato's body just laying down in a thing of bullets? Why is Ritsuko just in the LCL? Like stuff like that.
Yeah, so like the whole first half, the whole first 45 minutes of this movie are context for all of that and barely any Shinji, which is what all of episode 25 and 26 are. So yeah, the movie starts right where episode 24 leaves off, with Shinji staring at that ruined lake, depressed after killing Kaoru, and Asuka is basically comatose. Because if you remember, the last thing we saw her do was get found naked in a bathtub in a ruined city.
Yep.
Shinji is like staring over her as she sleeps in her coma, like desperate for her to wake up. He like starts shaking her, yelling for her to wake up. And when he does that, yeah, her shirt accidentally opens. And yeah, then he jerks off over her comatose body. And
into his disgusting hand.
Into his hand. Is this the first time chronologically they've shown jizz on screen in a regular movie?
In an Evangelion movie? I don't look, man.
It being a big
I don't remember
deal.
jizz in any of my animes. I'm gonna be
it's not even just anime. Like, I remember it being kind of a big deal when they showed jizz on girls, and like that was just a couple years ago.
Jizz is not one of those things you need in media. It's just
I guess there's that one joke in Scary Movie 2 where they're having sex and the dude comes so hard it's like a fire hose, but that's different because that's ridiculous. And this is so gross. Because it's a 14-year-old jerking off at the unconscious body of another 14-year-old. It's very disturbing. And like, thank you for starting because I knew about this scene going in, like, I had almost forgotten about it. Because again, I'd heard a lot about Evangelion. And at some point we need to open up that email I sent you where I guessed what would happen at the end. But I remember hearing about Shinji jerking off into his hand. I didn't realize the scene was laid out like this, and I didn't realize how much grosser it was. But holy shit.
Yeah. It is. It starts off on such a bad foot.
When it's also that I'm the lowest of the low line.
Which is, I think that's another thing where, whatchamacallit, the translation literally comes into it, because it's just like the original was in the original like translation of this is Shinji just saying I'm so fucked up.
Oh really? I thought it was more like the original translation. But like
the original dubbed version of this. Yeah. Like a lot of people like in retrospect actually complain because they just added a lot of like fuck and stuff into it just naturally. Of just like trying to make it a little bit, since it was an edgier movie, they decided to add some like edge into it.
Oh. Well, and then because I read a little bit about when it comes to the translation, because the original line in Japanese is something like I'm dirt or like I'm lower than dirt, which has more of a cultural context.
Yeah.
Apparently. And these are vague thoughts coming from research I did months ago and I don't really remember. But that's what I think the lowest of the low line works. It's just weird. It's just, I mean, they could have just, especially with how the movie ends, they could have just had him say, I'm disgusting.
Yeah, but it's not a good, like, that's the entire thing. Like, it's not a good scene.
The whole first half of this movie is upsetting, and not in like, you're showing me disturbing stuff, but in a way like, this is just cruel to all of these characters.
Yep. Unnecessary, I think in like horror movies or even like movies that are like, oh, we're going to be horrible to these characters, usually along the lines, it's just like, oh, these characters are assholes and should be like one of those things.
And while they do throw a shit ton of context for what happens at the end in this episode, all of the context you really need is in episode 26. Because that tells you what the fuck is happening during Instrumentality. Whereas this is just like set up, and it does leave me with one question that we'll get to. So, the scientists don't know what to do now that the last angel is dead. And that they'll just have to tough it out until Instrumentality happens. Which is where my question comes in, which is I'm still not sure what the fuck anyone knows about Instrumentality. Because they make it very clear that both Gendo and Seele want Instrumentality to happen, but they want to go about it in different ways.
Okay. Do you want Do you know? Can you describe the different ways that it happens, or would you like me to pop in?
One moment, because then on the other side, it seems like Nerve, the people in Nerve know that instrumentality is going to happen, but I don't know if they know what that means. Kind of. But the rest of the world has no fucking idea. And they make that very clear because they show the Japanese government for like 2 seconds at one point. We can get there. Tell me what the two versions of instrumentality is, because I know that at least Seilei's version is using the Evas to create the tree of life to merge everyone into one consciousness. That's my other question has to do with, wait, what was the goal of instrumentation? Because at multiple points they're like, everything's in Shinji's hands, but I have a feeling Shinji didn't do what they wanted him to do. So go ahead, elaborate for me, please, sir.
So, Seilei's plan for instrumentality. The reason that basically both ideologies just want to do one thing: press the fucking reset button on Earth. So, in Seilei's way, they want to reboot everyone to get to the next plane of like evolution. So, like the next point of humanity's like change,
which is supposed to be this single merged consciousness, right?
Yes. And then from there, it goes on, and so in retrospect, Gendo's idea is basically the same thing.
He just wants to be the one to press the button, basically, right?
No, and on top of that, he also wants to give people the choice to pick the next form that they choose.
Oh, okay. I see. I didn't get that at all.
Yeah. So, because that goes back to like Yui's original like weird plan, in which is just like, hey, I want people to get to the next form of human consciousness, but I don't want to force them into what they want. Like, they could be whatever they want to be, but I just want them to have the option to choose.
Okay, well, see, that makes a lot more sense, even though, like, and that is actually what happens in the movie, sort of. Though,
yeah,
the plan, it doesn't go according to plan because Gendo wanted to be the one to push the button and he's told no.
Yeah.
By Rei, but we'll get there. So, which is, the hilarious part is, right after this, like, them saying, like, we'll have to tough it out to instrumentality begins, it cuts to Misato driving with, or Misato laying out exactly what instrumentality is, using an Eva to trigger the third impact. Like,
yep.
Seilei turns on Gendo, wanting to kill him and take out Nerve before the instrumentality begins, so that everyone will just turn to goo.
Yep.
I feel like we learned that LCL is just people already, but they made it like abundantly obvious that that's what happened, like that's what that is in this movie.
LCL is sort of just like, I just assume that it's like, oh, it's the goop that we came out of, the primordial ooze, just returning into like a different form.
Kind of, but it's just literally that is what they make it clear. Everyone has an AT field. Your absolute terror field is what makes you human and separates you from other people. And when your AT field goes away, you turn into LCL.
You turn into the goop you're made out of. We're all made out of stars, David.
Which is hilarious.
We're all made out of stars.
Because now when you look back at the rest of the series, it's just even grosser. It's just swimming in.
It's body horror.
Goo.
It's abject, just body horror. People just floating in just life fluid.
Oh man!
And they can breathe through it.
And it's completely unrelated. If you want a good modern body horror, that Richard Stanley Color Out of Space movie with Nicolas Cage is pretty great.
Oh God. Seilei comes in and murders everyone.
So yeah, we're almost there. We're almost there.
Murder.
Misato is digging around inside the Magi and discovers the truth behind the second impact. And here is the one of two parts of my notes that's in all caps. So a bunch of text shows up on the screen, and then immediately after it pops up, all of these security warnings cover it up, because that's when Seilei starts hacking into the Magi and interrupting communications in Nerve. However, because we're watching this on Netflix, I paused the movie to be like, let me read what the movie says the second impact is. But the information printed on the screen is not the story of the second impact. It is the founding and history of Gynax, but using terms like the second impact and instrumentality to just replace other words.
Yep.
Because it talks about how Gynax founded because a bunch of animators came together to make this like 5-minute short film for a convention, and then decided to keep making shit after that because people loved it so much. And I'm like, which is this hilarious Easter egg, but it's like, why is this here?
Because I don't think when you make a movie that you expect people to pause it and be like, I'm gonna read this actually.
I know, it's just great, but and to me it kind of wraps the whole thing that half this movie is not supposed to be the end of Evangelion, but a commentary on Evangelion, Anno, and Gynax and what it all means.
It's lots of metaphors, and it's just one of those things in which it's just like, it is metaphor on top of fan service, on top of alienation of said fans.
Yeah. So Nerve is being hacked from the outside world by Seele. Seele terminates Nerve's authority and hands control to the Japanese government as they begin an all-out assault, both digitally and physically. Ritsuko is pulled out of jail because, remember, she betrayed Gendo and Nerve to defend the Magi, and enables a code 666 firewall, which results in Seele beginning the physical assault because they cut off the Magi. So as Josh said, then they begin breaching Nerve and brutally murdering everyone.
Brutally murdering just random bystanders, but it's always in like, it's mostly just like violent anime from Blockbuster that like Blockbuster's like, oh, this is fun, we'll put this in the kids section, it's okay. And then it's just like the visceral, it reminded me of just sort of like a lot of other like Japanese anime of like the time of like Perfect Blue and just like Akira, of just like, yeah, no, this is gory animation.
Perfect Blue's not that gory. Perfect Blue is a psychological horror.
Yeah, man, there's blood everywhere in there.
I guess. Yeah,
but a lot of people get shot in the head.
Well, it's funny too because we just see a lot of random people die. None of our the only main character we see get like killed on screen in an upsetting way, really, is Misato. No one else really dies on screen except for random people at Nerve.
Yeah, and then it's also just like, I forget, does Risco get killed on screen?
Oh, she does get shot. She gets shot and falls into the LCL. Yeah. But that's like, that's not in the assault. That's separate. That's technically different murder. So Misato plans to put Asuka in Unit 2 under the lake to hide her and keep her safe, and Shinji will board Unit 1. And Misato also wants to find Rei, who is somewhere in Terminal Dogma. Shinji is hiding because he's a coward, and he's an overwhelmed 14-year-old, and the world is ending.
Also, he murdered his friend, possibly lover.
He's very depressed. Yeah, like, you know, I imagine there are a lot of people on the internet and on whatever was around before the internet made it a cesspool of fandom, who are like, what the fuck is wrong with Shinji? He's such a little bitch. Like, and it's like, dude, he's 14 and the world is like, I get it. Even the very disgusting jerking off scene, it's like, well, this is super gross and you shouldn't do this, but I get it. Because you're fucked up in the head and you're 14 and a hormone monster, and like no one ever wants to talk about this part of being a teenager.
Yes, it's the part that everyone deals with, but it's just like, he's so whiny because it's like, you were whiny. Like, everyone's like, I wasn't whiny at like when I was that age.
It's like, fuck yeah, you were.
You were.
But also, you didn't have to murder your friend that you were in love with and all this other shit.
But he's also still like, but that doesn't excuse him from being a piece of shit. Like, let's be very honest.
No, it doesn't. And I'm not trying to say that I think that either. It's just more like I understand where he's coming from, even though I don't agree with anything he's doing. Like I get it. I understand why this is his response, especially in episode 26 of the movie where they go into Shinji a little bit more and show you Shinji's very depressing backstory.
Yeah.
So Gendo leaves the command center in Fuyutsuki's hands because he needs to go do weird shit with Rei in the basement. And Misato abandons parts of the facility and fills the hallways with. She names it. I forgot. I didn't write the name down. I feel like rewinding. But that weird
it's that red goop.
Yeah, the red liquid that turns like hard. It's like it's liquid cement or whatever, basically. The team going after Shinji is cut off to rescue him, so Misato goes on her own and tells everyone else to retreat to the dogma or surrender, even though if they surrendered, they would just get murdered anyway.
Yes.
There's a great throwaway line and I don't remember any of their names, where they the scientists have a throwaway line where they realize that their physical like defense budget was slashed, probably because they planned on this raid.
Yeah, I think that's one of the whatchamacallit. It's either like one of the main technical people who are in like the dog whose name, like Hyuga and like all those other people.
There's the guy with the longer hair, there's the woman, and then there's the dude with the glasses who's in love with Misato.
Yes.
It's the three of those when I say the scientists, those are and Fuyutsuki, those are the people I'm talking about because they're in that command center section. That's where they're always in the entire. They're either in there or they're in that one with the window that looks out at the Evas.
Yeah.
But that's where they exist. That's where they live. That's their home.
That is where we know them from.
That is where we know them from. Gendo retrieves a naked Rei, and she's just naked the whole movie. Is fine. She's technically not a human, even though she is technically also a 14-year-old girl. So it's just uncomfortable. But that's also the point. This time, times in this movie, both times you see naked children is meant to make you very uncomfortable.
Yes, this is almost. No, let's not do this.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fuck you to the fans.
Yes. A lot more people get murdered. Shinji is just sitting around waiting to get murdered,
waiting to die. He just wants to die. He keeps saying over and over again, "I just want to die. I don't want to do this. I just want to die." He's found by Seilei and is about to be executed when Misato shows up at the crucial moment and saves him. Which I did like that exchange. It was a cool action movie scene, and I shouldn't have liked it, but it was cool. Where they go to execute him, and the Seilei soldier's like, "I'm sorry, kid, it's nothing personal." And then Misato shoots the other two and puts her does the gun pointed up through the bottom of the chin, and she says, "Sorry, it's nothing personal," and kills him.
No, Misato is badass.
Misato is a badass, and I love her so much.
Goes back to first recordings. I see.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, I still don't like her in those first couple episodes because I don't like that it's wacky anime shit. It was once it stopped doing that, I was like, oh, I love all of this now. Kind of. It's Evangelion as a whole as a commentary on anime. It's just weird, like, which I appreciate, but it's usually the parts of that I don't like. So, yeah. Seilei, except at the end of the movie, Seilei drops an N2 bomb on Nerve.
Yep.
And I wrote my note down wrong because I thought they destroyed a large portion of the geofront. I didn't realize the geofront was the round until the second half of the movie, which is weird because we've been using these terms.
They blow the living shit out of Nerve.
Yeah, the geofront is literally that round ball where the dogmas and shit are in, and I think it's inside the pyramid. I think.
Yeah, it's inside the pyramid. Like it goes like Tokyo on top, and then it goes down into like
That
then that
big like
becomes
that
like the
big
Geo
cavern
front.
with the lake and shit, and then the
Yeah,
pyramid. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, it blows the shit out of everything, but the geofront itself, that ball survives, which is they needed it, so that makes sense. Um, Misato tells Shinji about the third impact and tells him he needs to destroy all the Evas. And so here's the part where we cut to the Japanese government, because Sele told the Japanese government that NERV was planning on triggering the third impact to explain why they used the N2 bomb. Because then you get this very brief scene of like the head, like the Japanese prime minister or whatever, in this really weird open office with a giant clock pendulum in the background, where they're like, "What do we do with NERV? Should we give it to another country to help redevelop?" And they're like, "No, they'll just want more money, so we'll just." And they literally say, "We'll leave it sit like old Tokyo for like 20 years." And it's like, okay, so Sele and NERV are the only people who know that the third impact is the whole point. And even then, it's made very clear that it's only the upper echelon, um, the monolith conversation people in Sele who know about the third impact, because they show the soldiers later, and it's very clear they don't know what the fuck's going on.
They're just following
They're
orders.
just following orders. Um, and Asuka wakes up right before Sele starts they start dropping like depth charges in the lake on top of Unit 2, and like
Because they know where she is.
yeah, and they ting against the Ava, and that's when she wakes up, and then all the bombs go off. And
And that's when we get the best animation and
ever,
one of the best beautifully animated fight scenes in anime history.
so Asuka synchronizes with Unit 2, realizes, like it dawns on her that her mom's soul is in Unit 2. She has the Nathan Spencer wife arm moment. And then Unit 2 powers on, and she gets up out of the lake, and she picks up a big old battleship and throws it at the shoreline where all the soldiers and their weapons and vehicles and shit are, which is just a really great scene.
She just wrecks. It basically just comes back to, hey, remember what Evangelions are for? Oh yeah, destruction.
Yeah.
Imagine that they're not battling an angel, but they're just battling normal military.
And for this whole part, this whole sequence, it's Asuka very triumphantly saying like, "Oh, I understand what the AT field is now, mommy. You wanted to protect me, mommy. I'm so happy, mommy," as she murders all of these people. And these are people at this point. These are not
Well, they
soldiers,
asked for it.
or they're not Avas, they're or angels, they're people. Yeah, they did ask for it. They're trying to murder a 14-year-old child. She can murder them back. So then Sele deploys the Ava series, which are the Avas equipped with the S2 drive, which are
All mass produced.
so fucking.
These are gross.
They're gross because they have mouths. They're like they're. I mean, a lot of anime monsters. I think it's maybe like a Japanese mythology thing, but like the way the mouths look is very common across like horror anime and stuff. But like it is with the white color and their shapes and the wings, they do a very good job at making them unique as well. But they're disgusting. And this is the part where you get, remember, it's like, oh, remember how angels are full of or Avos are full of blood and bleed everywhere?
Yep.
Because Asuka has 3.5 minutes to kill all of them, which she begins doing incredibly violently. Just like she literally rips like the first one in half.
And then it's just takes the weapon and just starts massacring them.
Yes.
She's doing such a good job.
So it's a really good action sequence until it turns until it becomes horrifying, which it will do. But first, we cut to Misato trying to get Shinji to Unit 1. She tells him it's all up to him now, even though he is too depressed and wants to die.
Isn't she literally just dragging him at this point?
Yeah, so soldiers start assaulting the area, and they end up. Misato gets shot, But then the soldiers, because she starts firing back, and they back off and receive orders to leave the area because they're just going to blow it all up.
Yep.
So she tells Shinji, and I didn't like write the speech word for word, but I got the gist that that everything beyond this point is his own choices, and that it's very important that he's making his own choices. Like that's what being human is having choices to make. And he says that she's a stranger, and which Misato responds, if he gives up, she'll curse him forever, and he will always hate himself. That he has to keep moving forward. So she takes off her little cross plus necklace and hands it to him, and promises, and tells him to promise her that he'll come back after he figures everything out. She then deeply kisses him,
which is deeply uncomfortable.
It is very uncomfortable. But this is not the first
doesn't
time
make,
Misato
but it
is.
does, but it doesn't. It just doesn't make sense, and it's still kind of gross. And
I
it just
think it's
doesn't
like a
make
weird. Misato is been shown to be a person who doesn't understand it and have her own thoughts and priorities in line. So I feel like this is to me it felt like her trying to motivate him a little more, even though she's trying to get him to act on his own.
But it's also just like I think she know. Like it's also one of those things of like I think she knows she's not gonna make it out of
Oh,
here.
she definitely knows she's going to die as soon as he leaves the room. So, and I also think it's like her, like she wants to kiss someone one last time. And she does love Shinji, just more as a mom. It's weird. It's a weird scene.
It's a definitely weird scene,
Because
and
she
it's
also
one of
says
those.
they'll do more when he gets back, even though she knows that's not going to happen. Yeah. So then she shoves him into the elevator down to Unit 1, and once the door closes, she slumps to the floor, which is the one part we saw in the actual episode 25. And then everything's blown up, which we did not know happened. So she's definitely
Yeah,
dead. There's no
everyone is dead. Let's just be very honest. Like,
well, Fuyutsuki and them make it to the end. They don't die. Technically, well, until everyone. Well, I mean, they don't die. They just merge. They turn into LCL.
yeah, that's the thing. But it's just like, in terms of just like, I think the explosions still happen, but I think it all happens at the same fucking time.
Yeah. So then, as Asuka violently destroys the Avas, Ritsuko confronts Gendo and Rei, and is planning to blow up the Magi, but it doesn't work because Gendo thought ahead of her, and then he shoots Ritsuko, and she falls back into the LCL.
Um, well, here no, but she hits like the self destruct button, and
Well, oh yeah,
it's
sorry, I
one of
didn't
the
write. I forgot to
yeah,
write that down. Casper fights back and says no, and
it's
she's
her
like,
mom,
"Yeah, it's her mom." She's like, "Even in this, mom, you left me."
and then she gets shot.
She does get
That's like
shot.
the saddest part about it.
It is. Ritsuko's a very just a she's not even a tragic hero. She's just tragic.
It's just
Because she does some really awful shit in the show, and it's like, well, I get why you thought this was okay because your life is misery, but you still did awful. It
and
still
it's
doesn't
just like
excuse you. Yeah.
no, yeah, and then she's just like it's one of those things where it's just like Ritsuko as a character is one of those characters in which it's just like it is the character you didn't know was bad, even though like anime is very much like, oh, who's this evil character with glasses and a deep voice and who does things weirdly and doesn't follow rules? Ah, he can't be a villain. But it's like she's a villain in her own right, but like all of her stuff is like scientifically like it just goes into like that's the person that she is. It's just like
Yeah.
she's very literal and it's just like okay, I need to get this job done. This is how I see the world and how I see things going. And it's sort of just like this all makes sense, but at a very point, it's wild.
So one of the angels throws its sword at Asuka, and she stops it with her AT field. But then it transforms into a copy of the Spear of Longinus, piercing the AT field and skewering Unit 2's head And
Yep.
this is also as it powers off because it ran out of battery now. And to make it even worse, I didn't actually write this down, but this whole time Asuka's just muttering, "I'll kill you." And she's clutching
Yep.
her head, and she appears to be bleeding from the wound that the Ava got, which technically isn't possible. She should be feeling the pain, but she shouldn't be bleeding. But this whole sequence is just horrifying because all of the Avas that were destroyed start reforming in a really gross that gross bubbly body horror way, and they all flock to Unit 2 and start devouring it, just tearing it
Also,
apart.
yep, and but also one of those things of like, oh, they were dead. No, they can't die.
Yeah,
It's it's gross and
it's
sad. Of
so
just like
gross.
she
And
had a great final run, and then just suddenly she's done.
they brought Asuka back. They brought her back from the precipice of oblivion to put
She
her
had a
there
cool
again.
fight scene,
To put her there
and then now she's
again.
gone.
No. Well, I don't
Also,
know if she's dead or not. They don't make it clear that she actually dies.
I feel like she's actually dead because those things are like eating the corpse, and it's sort of like the mangled corpse that's left. It doesn't look good.
Yeah, but they don't ever show you. They don't actually show you the pod, the whatever it's called, the cylinder thing, the pilot capsule. Um, and she comes back later. So
Yeah.
anyway, so then Shinji can't get into Unit 1 because it's all blocked off by that red hardening stuff. But then it activates. He says, "Mom." He gets in. He emerges from Nerve to see Unit 2's horrifying remains, in a way that reminded me of Devilman, in a bad way,
Nope.
because I hate that part. I don't like the end of Devilman either. Um, and just screams. And then here's my other all caps note. And then the fucking episode ends.
Yep.
Oh, I did forget to mention, halfway through this 45-minute sequence, it did do the commercial break thing where it tells you that episode 5 is called Love is Destructive. But literally,
Yeah.
and this is the part I had to show Faith because I rewound it just to where you see Shinji screaming, and I'm like, watch this. And then the movie ends and the credits start playing, and I show her the timeline. I'm like, this is halfway through the movie. It ends.
Yep.
Why? Why, Josh? Why?
I have nothing to say about that. It's a movie.
Because
Anime movies typically do this sometimes.
When? When have you seen a movie play the credits halfway through?
I think when I went to go see the Eureka 7 movie.
Was that an actual movie, or did they just stitch episodes together?
No, it's the actual movie.
I didn't
But
ever see that.
Eureka 7's okay. Like, don't watch any of the sequel series, but it's a good mech series. It's nice growing up anime.
I really liked it when I watched it as it aired, but I never revisited it. Anyway, the only thing that this reminded me of was Eternal Darkness, because there's a fake ending in that as a psychological horror thing. But yeah, so the whole credits play, and it's like 3 or 4 minutes long. Ano thanks the staff at the end, and then like, I know the movie didn't open with like an opening sequence, but it doesn't even it doesn't do the commercial break title thing in part 2. It doesn't do any of that. It just cuts to it, which like the credits and that like commercial stinger thing feel just like a fuck you to the audience, like a
Yes.
oh no, this is literally episodes 25 and 26, not like we're gonna show you more what's going on, and it's like no, this is
You
literally...
wanted it, you got it.
Yeah.
Here you go.
So
leave us alone.
Gendo tells Rei to lower her own AT field so they can become as one and begin instrumentality. And this is where, because I knew I had seen this scene before, this is where we see Gendo literally stick his hand into like a goopy liquid Rei.
Yep.
To like grab hold of her heart.
He also still has Adam inside of his hand.
He does, yes, because that's how they're starting the third impact. Rei senses Shinji freaking out at the destruction of Unit 2 and says no. Nope.
No, we're not about this.
She cuts off.
Instead, I'm going to take your hand, fuse with said hand, and I'm going to become a god.
Yes. I actually missed parts of that when I was taking notes. But yes, yeah. So yeah, she takes Gendo's hand. He kind of just falls back. She hovers up to. I swore I wrote this down. Yeah, because she flies
it's Adam
up to Lilith. She now has Adam in her body. She flies up to Lilith, gets absorbed. Lilith stands up and like very gross liquidy pulls off the cross.
Yep.
The Spear of Longinus reappears and stops inches from Unit 1's neck. And Sele begins the instrumentality as spoken about in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Let's start the instrumentality. So this is while the thing nearly gets to his neck, I feel like this is the part inside of his brain.
Yes.
Like this is when he this is the inside of just like, well, why don't this person doesn't like me? Blah, 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 blah. Everyone hates me. That's what's happening during this part, which that's what I think it is.
Yes. I think I agree. So the stigmata is branded upon Unit 1. And it's revealed that the sole purpose of the Eva series is to resurrect the sacred tree. So the Eva series overload their S2 drives, creating an anti-AT field, to which we're told that the phenomena is giving off the same readings as what happened in the second impact.
Let's restart the world.
Did I write this? Oh, so the Lilith thing actually does happen in a few minutes, not before.
Yeah.
So as they begin creating the anti-AT field, they become like these like circles of light with like prism kind of like rainbowy muddled fluid color effects.
They basically become that thing from like the intro that we create.
Oh, but yeah, not almost there. We're almost there. Because then also Shinji, when he emerged from Nerve, he had those crazy electric red glowing like wings. And then as the Avas have formed around him, he's now become like a cross. And then the Avas literally in the sky become that symbol from the opening of the show that looks like a weird kind of tree of life, almost I'm spacing like the Viking representation of like the world tree and stuff. It looks like that symbol literally shows up floating in the sky. And then everything is destroyed in this massive shockwave emerging from this. It blows everything apart, and then we see a shot, like we literally see it blowing the geofront out of the ground. Like we see the pyramid and everything get blown away, and just the sphere is like suspended in now the air because they blew away all the dirt too. And then we see the Earth from space, and this explosion becomes a giant eye.
As foretold in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
As foretold in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And also Fuyutsuki is popping in to also describe what's happening. It's a combination of the head of Sele, the weird visor dude, old man with visor, and like talking about this and all this like religious terminology. And mind you, if no one's listening to this, but even if you were and you hadn't seen the movie, they don't explain any of this shit. I
Nope.
wrote down the
It just
explanation.
happens.
Yeah, they tell you what's happening. The Geofront, turns out, is the egg of Lilith and has now returned to being that. It is now a black sphere. So yeah, so Rey fights against. Yes. What? Yes, exactly. Rey fights against Gendo, stealing his hand and refusing to follow his orders, as she is not him. She is her own person. Gendo begs, but she can't because Shinji is calling to her. She levitates in front of Lilith, says I am home, and then we get that black text on screen again, which is very clear. Oh, this black text is Lilith talking. Because it says welcome home, and then she's absorbed into Lilith, who pulls itself off of the cross and drops into the LCL. Lilith reforms into a giant ray.
Yep.
And is giving off the same readings as an angel and a human at the same time.
Yep.
She rises up, becoming bigger as she does. Rey keeps growing through this whole sequence, becomes multiple sizes of giant. It was cool. It reminded me of Asura's Wrath, a game that needs to be re-released on modern consoles.
No, let it die.
No, it's so good.
I'm
it's
kidding.
The only game with good QuickTime events, Josh.
But let's not do this.
No,
this part is just very unnerving and kind of explains, like, where's Shinji in all of this? This is what, like, the original episode 26. This is what's happening outside of Shinji.
Yeah, so seeing Rey shatter Shinji's ego, beginning instrumentality. And when I say ego, I mean the psychological concept of ego, not like his arrogance. The Avas begin fusing to the giant Rey and also turning into Reys, which is very, like, they're gross, disgusting Ava heads, like, thrash around and become Rey.
Yep.
The process continues to destroy Shinji's mind. The giant Rey falls back, and from it, a giant Kaworu emerges to come out of the Rey and embrace him. And as the Kaworu embraces Shinji and Unit 1, we see the Spear of Longinus going closer to the red core of Unit 1. But instead of piercing it, it does a gross body horror Cronenberg thing where it becomes like tentacles and embraces and fuses into the eye. We've seen this multiple times in the show. The gross biological disgustingness. Literally turning Unit 1 into a giant red tree, the tree of life, the proto-embryo that reminded me of what the arm became in Twin Peaks: The Return, but red instead of black.
Yep.
Fuyutsuki says the fate of the world now rests in Shinji's hands. Rey is now in his heart, a reflection of his wishes. And then there is the visual cue of a drop of water hitting the surface and rippling out. So beginning some of the coolest 25 minutes of any movie I've ever seen.
Wait, what part are you talking about?
The next part. The part, the whole internal sequence that's literally bookended by water droplets. Like, literally, it starts with a drop of water, then all the surreal dream shit happens, and then it ends with a drop of water, and we go to the red planet.
This is where the choking happens?
Which part? Which one?
The original choking.
The first one, yes. Not the literal one.
The mean choking.
The mean one, yes. That's where this happens. So yeah. So I took more notes than I originally intended, just because I was like, oh, I want to remember parts of this versus like this is what's happening. Because this whole next sequence and this whole part of the movie is very surreal and dreamlike and crazy. And it's meant to just push feelings and emotions onto you instead of explaining things, which I'm totally fine with. I like art. Art is meant to make you feel things. I like when that becomes the sole focus.
And a lot of this is all post The Witch, like the Wish. Sorry, not The Witch. But I think, Shinji, what do you wish for?
I want to die. He wants to die. He wants everything to end.
And he made his choice.
He made his choice.
And this is a little bit into, in the original series, was just like, it was asked just like, what do you want the world to be? And I think it just goes into, it's still like, this is, right now, I feel like this is Gendo's Human Instrumentality. Like, this is the Human Instrumentality project. Not the Sele's vision of it, but like Gendo's original vision of it, of everyone will get to choose their form of what they desire the most. And what Shinji desires the most now is to die.
Well, also to become one so he can't feel pain.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to feel, he wants to die because he doesn't want to feel pain. So that's, Lilith interprets that as everyone becoming one so there is no pain. Because they don't just kill everyone. Technically, everyone dies, but not literally.
Not really. Like,
yeah.
Everyone just becomes primordial goop.
Which is what Sele's plan was to merge everyone into one consciousness. So, Shinji's playing with children as a small child in a sandbox. But the kids that he's playing with, who are drawn really fucking weird, by the way, we see their faces and they look like children you would draw in something to be like, there's something wrong with this child. Like this, it's a different art style. It's very creepy looking. It's very weird. Yeah. And not even the point. So I don't know why they did that. But the other kids leave because their mom has come to pick them up. And Shinji is just left alone as time keeps passing. And he builds a pyramid out of the sand and the streetlights come on, which I feel like is supposed to be like, oh, look, it's Nerve. And then he destroys it. We watch Misato and Kaji have sex. Not like literally, we don't see them having sex. We watch
just Shinji. Such a long scene.
We watch Shinji watch them have sex, and we go through like we're having a lot of psychological arguments and philosophical arguments with ourselves in this sequence of the movie. So like there is a point to this, but it's not important, and we already talked about it because this happened in episode 26 too.
Yes. But it's more concrete and a little bit more just like, no. This is how we got to congratulations.
Yeah. Well, and it's like them in college, and like then we cut to Asuka and Rei and Shinji on a train, and she's like, I know you've been jerking off to me, do it again, do it, I want to watch. And then she yells at him like, if she can't have all of Shinji, she doesn't want any of him, and no one can have him.
Disgusting.
Yes. But also important and poignant and very well done. Shinji, basically, with and then we get that whole sequence from episode 26, the original episode 26 in the show, where it was like the nude but not explicitly nude Rei, Misato, and Asuka saying like, become as one. What do you want? Like the zooming in. We get a version of that without the zooming. That's basically further contextualizes that as Shinji doesn't know how to handle his relationships with Rei, Asuka, and Misato because he's so terrified of loss and abandonment that he can't let them in or really do anything. He's just so overwhelmed by this fear, it's destroying his life and his relationships.
Yeah. He just, he just doesn't want to do it.
Evangelion is the fear of rejection, is about the fear of rejection and abandonment. That is the whole point of the show. And about not letting people in because of that.
And then the repercussions of that.
Yeah, and then there's a bunch of other shit going on, but that really is the point.
Third Impact stars, baby!
Asuka tells Shinji he's never loved anyone, not even himself. And he begs her for help. And like, please don't kill me. Or please, he starts by saying, please, I need help. Please help me. Please help me. And then eventually just devolves into, I don't want to die. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. And Asuka says no. And then
rejecting him,
and Shinji strangles her. They're in the Misato's kitchen while this scene's going on.
But he doesn't just strangle her. He like lifts up.
He's lifting her up. Yeah, like full on supervillain strangle.
Also, I did not know Shinji. Like, it's something that's just like, this isn't real. Like, this is like kind of the thing that breaks down the realism, because Shinji, like Asuka, I don't know size wise, but I don't think Shinji has the strength to choke slam somebody through a table.
No. No, he does not. He's a twiggy 14-year-old boy. And so then everything goes batshit crazy.
Yep. He took that rejection real hard.
Shinji wants to die, and Rei asks him, she, like, through all these steps, basically, why are you a person if you just want to die? Like, why are you here? Like, if that's all you want, then what is the point? So then the egg, this whole sequence is cutting back and forth between reality and Shinji's head, or also, I guess, the mental reality and the physical reality, let's call it. So in the physical reality, the egg raises into space. To which, like, we cut back, which I really appreciated. I like that we didn't do it all in the show 25 and 26, but I liked how in the movie we keep cutting back to Fuyutsuki and the other scientists while the shit's going on.
They're fucking stuck.
They're basically just taking it in. They don't know what to, like. They know.
What do you do during a natural disaster? Accept your death and just chill out and write it out.
They know this was the goal, but it's still horrifying to see in reality. And also, happy music that really reminded me of like Beatles music is just playing through this whole sequence now. As soon as, like, after he strangles her, this music starts playing, and it's just like, wow. It just really drives the scene home, I think. I liked it.
Fuck you. Fuck this. Let's watch these people get what they want.
Even that, I don't think this sequence, I think this part, bookended by the water droplets, isn't a fuck you. I feel like this is where all of Anno's love and positive feelings about Evangelion when making the movie went. I think this sequence is really meaningful and powerful and really well done. And I think it's the only part of the movie that's not a giant fuck you. Because it does. This is also the one part of the movie that explains what was happening in episode 25 and 26 physically. Like, it shows you that other part where, like, we didn't need to see Asuka get destroyed, like, fight the angels and all that other. We didn't need to see any of that. It wasn't important. This part kind of is.
Yeah.
But also, it's so bananas, like, you didn't need to see it either way because it doesn't make any sense. But also, we get we get those parts of, here's what's happening. It won't make any more sense, but here's an explanation.
It's, yeah.
So,
are we getting to what part? When everyone starts becoming Tang?
Almost. Lilith's anti-AT field is expanding and taking on physical properties. Lilith slash, I think I just keep calling her Lilith from here on out. But it is Lilith, but Ray. It's a giant Ray. It's a giant naked white Ray.
Let's just call it whatever
Lilith.
It is, Ray. Like, I think it's one of those things that you gotta remember, Adam and Lilith together with Ray.
Well, then I'll just start calling her Ray. So Ray emerges giant from the earth, like literally her torso is the whole size of the planet. And cradles the egg. I think, is this the part where it, like, bisects the egg? No, that's later. Okay, so then the anti-AT field continues to expand, opening the chamber of Guff and blurring everyone's personal AT fields, turning everyone into LCL. So we see this in two ways. Three ways. We see panning of all of the fucking dead bodies from the assault turning into liquid. Like, we just see liquid everywhere instead of bodies. We see the head of, who I assume is the head of Sele, that the old dude with the visor. We see him literally
also gone,
turn into liquid. But then we cut to Nerve for the three scientists and Fuyutsuki, and we see them all approached by these weird human-sized ray things. But we also see that, like, first they see them as Rei, but then when they get closer, they become the person that person loves the most. Fuyutsuki is embraced by Yui. The glasses guy is embraced by Masato. We don't see the dude with the long hair. He just also turns to goo. And then the woman is whose name I should remember, because she's like the guy with the glasses and the woman are like the more important ones, because they have
Her name's
stuff.
Maya.
Maya, yeah, she's embraced by Ritsuko, and they all turn into LCL, and then
Yep.
Unit 2 eats Gendo to punish him for his sins.
I thought it.
Or
Yeah.
Unit 1, I mean. It was Unit 1. Because Unit 2 is all gross and dead.
Yeah, no. Unit 1 just comes through with, like, it's basically like Yui. I feel like since it's like Yui is coming back for, like, basically just being like, you fucked up. You literally fucked up so hard. And for what? Oh, I did it for you. Did you do it for me? This is not what I wanted.
That secret, I didn't really understand why, but I liked seeing Gendo. Like, it wasn't like, oh, he got eaten and then he turned into LCL like everyone else. He gets eaten like it's a fucking like a T-Rex ate him, and then Unit 1 puts down his legs back down.
Yep. He does not get turned into LCL as well. That's the other thing that is the thing that, like, the important part of this.
Oh man,
he doesn't get to join everyone else in instrumentality.
So violent, because we didn't bring it up, but anytime we say like someone gets cut in half, someone gets like violently ripped apart, it's not just that it's violent and there's blood. Like, you're seeing bones and organs and shit. There's really tendons. Gross. Yeah.
It's the part that makes it like it's body. It's the part that why I call it, like, it's body horror. Like, there are tendons, and when everyone gets ripped in half, it's just like, oh, it's not like, oh, arms just popped off. Okay, it is arm dramatically being torn off, and then like the skin breaks, and then like the muscle breaks, and then the bones. Yeah.
So, where are we? Souls turn into red orbs that all fly up and fly into slits that open up in Lilith's palms, but are like coalescing in this sphere in between her hands. And then what looks like a vagina with an eyeball in it opens up in Ray's forehead, and the tree of life descends from space and pierces into it and is sucked inside.
Yep.
And then we cut to live action footage. First of an empty theater.
Wait, is this the empty movie theater part? Sorry.
First of the empty movie theater. Then of just like a bunch of random shit, like power lines, scenes of cityscape. I don't know if it's Tokyo or another part of Japan, but clearly very scenes of Japanese cities, but like not and like crowds. We see then we cut to a theater full of people watching something. And I tried to look this up. The theater where that was shot, people know what it is. But I couldn't find a concrete answer on what they're watching. The people think it might have been Death and Rebirth. But
I think so, possibly. I don't know. It's very vague, but also just like, it feels like somebody is like, oh, I'm trying to... It feels like a mild bit of forced art, to be very honest with you. Just like, oh, this is great commentary. Look at all these IRL people that love this anime, you trash people.
So, the first time I watched this movie, it was very late at night, and Faith was asleep. When I watched it to take notes, I was sitting at my desk on the computer, and she was behind me watching a movie on Netflix. She was actually watching the sequel to All the Boys I've Loved Before, or whatever that movie's called. I don't know, it's a Netflix original.
Yes.
But I'm watching the sequence, and I had restraint because I knew she wouldn't have given a shit. But I kept wanting to turn to her during this whole surreal sequence and be like, look at what's happening! Look at my dumb anime movie!
It's
there's also like what starts as like a pedestrian like walkway, like a really long one full of people that we just start slowly zooming in on. I'm like, what the fuck is the point of this? And like, oh, we zoom in closer and closer, and like, oh, those are 3 Evangelion cosplayers from behind.
This is the part in which I was just like, can we end it?
I
Just
like
stop.
it. I like it. I thought it ends right after that. I thought it was good. And we get oh, and mind you, while we're seeing all this footage, Shinji and Rei are just talking over it.
Yep.
Talking
They
about what are dreams, what is a dream, what is
they're like
reality.
merging together.
Reality comes after the dream. Is the last line of this footage, and then Lilith's neck opens up and blood just like spurts out
And
pressurized.
goes over the moon.
It does the thing that anytime from attack, if you want a more modern reference, it does the thing anytime they attack one of the Titans on Attack on Titan, where it's like blood doesn't do that.
Hey, I hit that person with a samurai sword. Blood goes spurting out of them like a broken pipe.
Don't get
Just
me wrong, I love the effect, but yeah, when it comes out of Lilith or Ray, it's just so ridiculous because it like circles, it rings, it gives the planet Earth a ring. We have a ring now of blood.
yep, it's all over our goddamn moon. How will we mine the moon if there's blood all
It doesn't
the time?
hit the moon. It just is. I thought it was in between the moon.
No, it literally there is like
Uh,
a blood splatter spray across the moon.
um. So, Ray awakens Shinji. Um, in a sea of LCL where no one knows where someone ends and someone begins. Everyone is merged into one as Shinji wished. Um, he looks at, and like when I say that, like she awakens him, she's like he's on his back and she's straddling him, but they're merged. Like they have no boundaries, and she's like pressing her hands against his chest, except she's inside of his chest. Just to describe the scene.
The
But
last it's
Shinji's holding. Go
it
ahead.
this is
Go ahead.
no, it's just but the only thing is they're the last two with like actual bodies at this point.
Yes, because he is the arbiter of all of this. The two of them are the arbiters of all of this.
Yeah.
He looks at Misato's necklace, which is still in his hand, and thinks this is different from what he wants. But Ray says if he wants others, they will come back, but so will the fear and the pain. He thanks Ray,
Do you want to
acknowledges.
be rejected?
Go ahead.
Do you want to be rejected or not?
Yeah. He thanks Ray, acknowledges that he thought only bad things happened in life, but running away from everything means he doesn't really exist. Which I really like that idea. I really like some of the stuff they talk about in this sequence. That even though the AT fields mean that fear will return, it's okay, that fear and pain are worth it for the good parts of life.
And I think I think this is what I think the strongest part about this is that you could tie like some of this discussion back to like the original episodes of like, what does that congratulations mean? Like, what does that mean when like the wall shatters and the play is gone and everyone is just standing on that weird thing, just clapping together? Like,
See,
this is what that basically is of just like Shinji accepts that, you know what, it's gonna fucking suck every so often, but you're gonna have to deal with the suck. It might not suck forever, but like that's what I get. Like I feel like congratulations, you discovered how to be a real person, which is you get the good, you get the bad, and those are the facts of life.
maybe. I don't know. I should rewatch it now that I've seen the movie, but or 25 and 26 though. But I read 25 and 26 as Shinji accepting instrumentality and everyone becoming one and humanity becoming a new form. I didn't read this part about Shinji rejecting all of that and and and
Well,
driving forth because so okay, let's finish we're almost done.
okay.
There's literally like 5 minutes of runtime left. So Unit 1 emerges from Lilith's eye, and the egg I don't know how to describe it, but it does it gains latitude and longitude lines that bleed out, and and they explode out into red orbs, which cover Lilith and leak back onto the Earth. And then Lilith and Ray start graphically and that's again what I brought up earlier, the thing about, oh, when people get torn in half, it's not just like they get torn in half. It's like as the giant Ray breaks apart and falls back to Earth, her, like, it's pure body horror. Her, like, skin's melting away and you see the tendons and bones collapse and fall apart. It's very disgusting. Unit 1 grabs the Spear of Longinus and uses it to destroy all the other Avas. And then we get the line of dialogue, as long as people, well, that not specifically, I didn't get the exact quote, but it says basically, as long as people live, there are opportunities for happiness and everything will work out in the end.
Yeah, so I have the quote in front of me. As long as there is a sun, the moon, and the earth, it'll all work out.
Well, it keeps going. There's more to it than that, but yes.
Yeah, but
it's like a whole speech. And then there's another drop of water, ending what I think is one of the coolest sequences I've ever seen. So then we get dialogue that I think from Yui, that the Ava will live on. Unit 1 will live on forever, long after humanity is gone. Like, Unit 1 will not be destroyed. And Unit 1, holding the Spear of Longinus, and Yui's soul drift off into the void of space.
Because it's the shining proof of humanity's, like, it's the same reason that, like, we shot, like, Voyager into space and just being like, yo, we want everyone to know in space, if you ever find this, humanity was out here.
Yes, basically.
We were here.
So
you
then,
can't. We will not be forgotten.
We cut to one of those commercial stingers for the last, like, 3 minutes of the movie, mind you. The End of Evangelion, one more final, I need you. Oh, I guess I did forget to mention, after the credits and Anno thanked it in the first half of the movie, there was a title card that just said Gainax, the end of Evangelion. So then we cut to, we're on the shore of a red ocean in the shadow of half of Ray's head, giant Ray's head. Shinji has mounted Misato's cross on a post and is laying back on the beach and staring up at the moon, which, yes, the Earth is crossed by that red ring of blood, and I didn't realize it, but as Josh said, the ring has touched the moon, and the moon is covered in blood, or, like, there's a stripe of blood across the moon.
Apocalypse looks real cool, doesn't it? It just looks like fucking sucks.
Yeah. He sees Ray floating over the ocean, and then she vanishes, just like the first episode of the show. He sits up and looks at Asuka, who's lying next to him. He then gets on top of her and strangles her. But right before
is this a dream or is this real? This is some Kingdom Hearts bullshit. I'm just like, is this all, or is this reality?
Right after he chokes her, or right before he strangles her to death, she gently caresses his face, and he's also crying the whole time, by the way. And then he stops, and he keeps crying, and she says, "Disgusting." And then the fucking movie ends.
Yup.
Yeah. It's okay. So,
how do you feel about that?
Well, I've already stated I like that 25-minute sequence. I don't like this movie.
Nope.
It is a giant fuck you to the fans. I feel like this whole scene is Anno struggling internally. It's a creator's struggle. It's him thinking, like, he wants to he wants to be done with Evangelion. He wants to kill it. The fans drive him nuts. He hates his creation, but at the same point, um, he can't, and he loves what he made. He doesn't like what people have done with it, but he loves it. And it's just a creator struggling with his work in a modern context, and basically being forced to make more of it, and hating that fact, and putting that all on the screen.
I think it's the, but I think, yeah, that's a part of it. But it's also like, I think this was around a time where you couldn't just like, you're so like, you can't just quit things. Like, it's, I think it's like, I think back then it was even worse of just like, I don't remember it back when I was growing up and anything. I'm just like, oh, the showrunner changed or like the creator left the project. Then you could obviously tell that there was something different. And I think it's one of those things that just like, you being forced to do something like you don't want to do, kind of like, this is a perfect example of forcing someone to do what they don't want to do. And like
Yeah,
when we get to like the movies, you can see that there's a little air of difference in like how it feels compared to like this movie.
because he wants to do the movies this time.
Yeah.
Except, so now I wonder if four rebuild will be all pissed off again because people keep yelling at him about how long they're taking.
It's a different world.
You can never, we can never treat our creators nice, can we, Josh?
No, especially creators that don't live in America.
So
But like it's, yeah, like it's complicated. And I think that's like the thing of Evangelion, of just like Evangelion is very complicated because it's sort of just like, it's a very creator focused series. It's not like, I don't think that the anime was made to sell toys or sell manga or sell, maybe sell some inappropriate figures to weird creepy men. But like, I think it's just one of those things, like there wasn't an offset of like what this series could be. And
yes,
it's very like how we have now, in which like TV shows are very much creator focused.
it was it was certainly a fucking trip.
Oh, I should find that email. Hold on, give me a second.
Okay.
Tell me more of your feelings.
I mean, again, I did quite enjoy uh that 25-minute sequence made the whole movie worth it. Like made watching Evangelion as a whole worth it. I agree with you. The series should have ended with episode 20.
And I'm glad that you understand. Like, at first you were very much like, I don't understand, and I was like, you'll under, like, now do you get of just like, that other shit didn't need to necessarily happen to make it a great series.
Or like even then, like I would have done like episode 20 and give me like a modified 26. Like I like the surreal uh visually stunning endings both here and in the sequence in the movie. Like I really like that. Um and well, I guess in the movie they explain what the fuck's going on. But kind of. But I like it being vague. I like having questions. I don't need everything to be answered, and I don't like the answers. It
Yeah.
felt like all the answers we got were like even if they sat down and were like, here's what's written in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Here's what this means. I'm like, okay, well this is just fantasy nonsense. Like it doesn't, just because you're telling me what all this means doesn't mean it actually serves a purpose. And because that's not what the show is about. The show is about being a teenager, struggling with emotions, feeling lost and alone and abandoned in a world that treats you like shit. Like the deeper meaning of
And
Evangelion has nothing to do with the Dead Sea Scrolls,
no, it doesn't have to do with instrumentality. It just has to deal with, how do you deal with fucking life?
especially when the world's ending.
Yeah. I found your email.
Okay, what does it say?
Here is my vague, probably wrong understanding of Evangelion. So 15 years ago, after the first angel attack, Gendo captured the angel or something like that and has been experimenting with it this whole time. Kind of like a Shinra Genova sort of way.
Yes,
Kind of right.
I was playing Final Fantasy when I wrote that.
From this Angel, he created Ray, who's an artificial life form, and the Avas, which is why they're part organic.
Kind of right.
This is also why all the angels are now are attacking Tokyo 3. They are trying to get to the center of nerve where Gendo has remains or still alive Angel.
Yes. Well, but it was Lilith, but I didn't know what that meant.
Yes. Yeah. At some point, Gendo does something to Rei to turn her to the source or whatever, which is that scene of her melting and putting her hand from where he's from.
Yes.
End of Eva ends with everyone but Shinji and Asuka dead, the world destroyed, and Shinji strangles Asuka to death, leaving him alone. Most of this is probably wrong. Congratulations, you got most of it pretty okay.
I only got the last 2 seconds wrong. Because I literally had that ending described to me as like everyone's dead but the two of them, and then he kills the last person. I'm like, oh, okay, well that was wrong. I could see how you could stupidly incorrectly get that from watching the ending, though.
Yeah.
If you don't pay attention.
Yeah. There's another thing that I think we passed over, which I kind of forgot until now, is that every angel is kind of a representation of where humanity could have gone.
Yeah, oh yeah, I guess we didn't, because they talk about, I think they say that in the movie.
Yeah, that's, so I think this is my Eva back knowledge coming through of just like, in the world of Evangelion, there was like an ancient race or something, and so with the ancient race, that created like the universe. And then in this part of the universe, it's just like everyone, like that's what the Spear Longinus is. It's just like a thing in order to create worlds. And so every every world gets a Spear Longinus and like a Lilith type organism to start the world. Like there's always Lilith, there's always an Adam to start a world.
So what you're telling me, Josh, I'm going to give you two explanations based on what you just said. Your first one, you're telling me that the angels are the Reavers from Mass Effect, that they're all collections. They're all the merged forms of other civilizations.
Yeah. And then they're all different ways of they're all different sets of like, okay, this is where these organisms can go. These are where these organisms can go. But there's always a reset button.
Yes, which my other interpretation is Josh, what you're telling me is you're deeply, deeply bummed that the end of Evangelion is not humanity becoming a Ramiel angel.
We could have been angels.
We could have been a pyramid that blew shit up, an upside down pyramid.
We had to have these fucking gangly forms. Sorry, I watched The Matrix in the period of us starting and ending the show, and Agent Smith makes some pretty good points, and just like these dumb bodies hold us back from our. Anyway.
Also, how the fuck are they making a fourth movie? Didn't they blow up the Matrix at the end?
And that is what I'm ready to watch for. What the fuck are they doing?
I thought that movie, I thought the two bad movies ended with them destroying the Matrix. How do you make a fourth
okay.
one?
I'm going to be very honest with you. There's one bad movie. It's the last one.
Yeah, the 2 is fine. It's
still fun.
2 has a really bad ending, but the movie part is fine.
Yeah, no, like
it just stops.
It's towards the end where they're like, wait, let's talk about what the Matrix actually is. Like, no. Give me more flippy shit. Give me another Burly Brawl or something. Don't do this to me, please.
Yeah, so that was Evangelion. Sort of.
Yeah.
Because we still have 4 more movies to watch. So we are not going to do them immediately because we're both really fucking busy. And the 4th one isn't out yet. So technically, the longer we take to watch the first 3, the less time we have to wait for the 4th one.
Oh, we? I've been waiting for years.
I know, dude. I know. Okay.
Let me go to my. Oh wait, that's not my Amazon. I did not get my DVD copy of 3 for most of my college. And okay, I'm just becoming an old man.
Josh, do you want to talk about Tron? Because I can bring up Tron, okay?
No, no, don't bring up Tron because now we're just gonna get into the weird. Oh, why did they do the Troniverse? They tried so hard. Why are they making that ride? No one knows or cares about Tron.
I care about Tron. Fuck you.
They're
Tron's
never
the
gonna
best.
do anything anymore.
That show is on Disney Plus, and it's so good.
Guess who watched that show?
You and I. We did.
Lance Reddick, save us.
All right. So yeah. Maybe don't watch Evangelion.
No, just stop at episode 20.
Yeah. And then watch the 25 minutes from the movie out of context. And just go wow. All right. Bye everyone.
Goodbye.